Mr. Chairman, we are recording.
Excellent. Well, I will open the Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of May 13th, 2025. I will start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Thank you. And we will start with our introduction or roll call. Start with you down there.
Kenny Carson, Commissioner.
Eric Bradley, alternate.
Dr. Rosa, alternate. Paul Shanley, Chairman.
Kitty Grant, Secretary.
Earl Braden, Commissioner.
Eric Swenson, Public Works Director, ex officio member.
Up there. Go ahead, Bob.
Yep, he said, Bob said it.
Diane Ryan, Commissioner.
Excellent. And staff with us this evening?
Oh,
Staff?
Dave McCollum, Land Use Coordinator.
Amanda Martinez, Recording Secretary.
Jeremy DeCarly, interim planner.
Excellent. And seeing as Mike is not here tonight, I'll see Eric for Mike.
That's fine with me. I'm just thinking about, I'm recused for that first public hearing.
So the seating, the alternates, only comes into play until we get to the business meeting.
Okay.
So alternates in the work session, yeah. The alternates are invited to.
Great.
When it's a public hearing.
Yeah, you can ask questions and whatever. And then when it comes to voting and things, that's when you.
Okay. Our next item, town planner introduction. So Jeremy, you want to take the floor?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Jeremy DeCarly. I am with the firm Tyke Planning and Policy Group. We're here. We were hired on an interim basis to fill in after Beth's departure and until you fill the position with a full-timer. So we're hoping for you all that we're not here very long, but we'll see how long it goes. We are a planning firm of 7. Our office is based in Vernon, Connecticut, although we are kind of all over the state. We do this in 20-ish towns around the state. We have some towns that we staff permanent full-time. We are the planners in those towns. We also do plans of conservation and development, affordable housing plans, and a whole host of other planning related things. So I'm going to be your primary contact, but we do have a team of 7 of us. So if I don't know the answer to something that you might ask, I've got a bunch of other folks that I can reach out to. 4 of us are certified planners. 6 of us are Casio certified zoning enforcement officers as well. And I think all of us are wetland enforcement officers.
Nice.
As well. Looking forward to working with you.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we'll move right into the public hearing, the continued public hearing for 53 Taylor Avenue, TD and Sons, the 830G site plan for 20 units. And I am accused of this application.
It's my day. All right, we said that. Trinkets?
Yes, good evening, members of the commission. First, I'd like to welcome Jeremy because I did work in the town of East Hampton on low impact development when Jeremy was a planner there, and look forward to working with him here. He was a very good choice, in my opinion. So glad to see he's here. So on 53 Taylor Avenue, I had written a response to the health comments. I forgot to email it to David when I wrote it on May 1st. So I sent that this afternoon, which addressed, I think, Laura's 11 or 12 comments. It does not require any changes of the plan, but it's in the record now. At the last meeting, there was a question. I think the retired fire chief said, it's turning the fire truck from Nashville Road into the southern end of Taylor Avenue and coming into the site. It's a difficult turn for them off Nashville. So we showed the aerial fire truck coming up, and let me share my screen. It'll make more sense if I do this.
Yes, come right.
So the fire truck now would come, from the center of town, up Taylor Avenue. And because our driveway is very wide at the intersection, it can, a fire truck will swing slightly into the other lane, but turn into the site, traverse the site all the way to the western end where we have the hammerhead turnaround, be able to turn around and go back out. It can easily go out to the south on Taylor Avenue to Nashville. It can also make a 3-point turn to head back north on Taylor Avenue. So either way, you can get in and out. Just to make the turn onto Taylor heading to the north would have to be a 3-point turn, which, occurs in many other places also. That's the only change to the plan. I looked this afternoon, there was no additional comments. As I said, the prior meeting, we had addressed all of SLR's comments, and the proposed revisions of changing the unit footprint to these duplexes didn't change the stormwater, didn't change the impervious cover or anything like that. So this, I think, was the last item the commission requested, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
There was a letter from Mrs. Hoffman.
In the-
See that?
In the last response, I did address globally the concerns of the neighbors, which were really focused on, traffic and blasting. So, I addressed them on a kind of a global basis, but that was in my last response. It was given for the last meeting.
Well, yeah, I should also point out that I listened to the video of that meeting. And I did hear you say that you submitted a letter and
Multiple.
that,
No, it did not. There's quite a bit
Well,
of
then-
questions that are not being answered. And I mean, the way I feel is the,
excuse me, if you want to speak, then I think you should come up here, give your name and address and ask your questions.
Sylvia Cutchman, 68 Taylor Avenue. It will be hard for me to re-answer all the concerns that I've been emailing. I believe there's like 3 or 4 emails. But the answers I'm getting, they're really not concrete answers. I mean, you answering that to you, this is not a big deal. To us residents, it is a big deal. So
Specifically, what are you speaking about?
air quality.
Air quality. Okay.
For one example, air quality during this development, it's a huge issue for me, which I mentioned before. I have a child with asthma.
Mhm.
And I'm not a specialist, I'm not an expert, but I did a lot of research. This will be a severe impact on my child.
Mhm.
So I would like for everyone to take that under consideration. And I said it again, and this gentleman may not be aware how slow our street is. And that's a big part of why this is a big concern.
Mhm. So what, can you be specific as to what is it that will affect the air quality of what it is you're doing?
So, last thing, which, to Mr.
Trinkus?
Trinkus,
Yes.
seems to not be a big concern. And once again, every research that I did, it is posing a big concern, blasting to the neighborhoods. That's one. Second, and if I could ask, I don't remember if I asked last time. Trucks will be coming in, entering from which way? From Nashville or south?
Kitty, would you like me to address this?
Please, go right ahead.
I mean, truck traffic can go either way.
No,
It
dump
depends.
trucks.
The dump trucks can go either way out of the site, depending where they're taking the excess material. If they're going towards Danbury, they will obviously go down the hill on Taylor Avenue. If they're heading south towards Reading, they will go, I should say, they'll go to the right, out to Nashville to Route 53.
Okay,
It
and
all depends where the material is going. And regarding the blasting, as I pointed out before, blasting today is not blowing the rock up and creating a giant dust cloud like you would see in a rock quarry. What it is small charges at very frequent intervals of the holes, and they're done on microsecond blasting, where it basically cracks the rock in place and then it's simply dug out with an excavator. It's not blown up like you would see in a rock quarry where there's dust flying, hundreds of feet. That's not how it's done today. I had a client in Westport last week who blasted, and I happened to be just down there before they did it. There wasn't even it was a blasting of an area maybe 30 by 40 feet, roughly 6 foot down. There was literally barely any dust. You heard a boom, you heard multiple little booms, and it just cracked in place. There was very little dust, maybe a couple feet off the ground, and that was it. That's how the blasting is done today. I also pointed out air quality, and I think Attorney Marcus, the last meeting, it's all regulated by DEP. Every contractor on this site has to conform to those standards. That's all I can tell you. If there's an issue, DEP will come down and, deal with it. That's where the regulations are.
Can we get DEP's opinion on this? A third-party opinion, I think, is a big part of it, to get on environmental studies. And I'm sure from what I actually researched, again, they will be the ones to ask. So I think it will be really good to get an opinion, environmental expert on the air quality and all of that.
Now, have you, Mr. Trinket, have we determined where she lives in relation to?
What was your address, ma'am? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it earlier.
58,
58. So you're down the hill on the other side of the road a little bit.
not down the hill. I am
Up the hill?
up
Going
right
south?
up the hill.
Okay, so probably a couple houses up on the opposite side of the road, Kitty, would be my guess. Because we're 53, so 58 is, a little further south and on the left-hand side of the road. I'll be honest, I'm not going to continue the hearing to go talk to DEP. We have said what it is. There's been numerous blasting in the town of Bethel on many projects, not only Mr. Draper's, who's right next door to the north of us, but over the years, there's been larger projects, the one off Worcester Street up on top of the mountain there. There was substantial blasting up there. And, again, it's highly regulated. This is not the Wild West with blasting. Blasting today is highly, highly regulated through the fire marshal and state laws. And that's all I can tell you. Everything has to be done in compliance with the rules that are already in place.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
there are a couple of non-explosive forms of rock fracturing. Am I correct?
I'm there. I think there are some you drill, you put kind of a liquid in that expands. I think it depends on the type of rock. I'm not a blasting expert. I'm going to couch my comment that way, but this outcrop extends 16 feet above the average grade on the site. So, to remove the rock, I really think they're going to have to drill it, and again, crack it so they can remove it.
Well, I saw a video on hydraulic fracturing. You drill the same holes, but you put in these clamshell hydraulic devices connected to a power supply, and it cracks the rock 4 or 5 feet deep at a time, and there's no explosion or shock waves. So I was just wondering, is that a possibility?
I can't commit to that because I haven't spoken to my client. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Delorio would be happy to, talk to his blaster. And if there is a better way to do it, I'm sure, and it accomplishes the same goal, I'm sure he would be open to it. But I can't do that.
David, will Mr. Trinket's expert be able to come here and speak? And will they do the survey of the property? Can you help us out here as to which how this is going to work this time? I mean, Mr. Trinkett obviously isn't going to be the one doing the work, but we have to know somebody who is going to be doing the work to assure us that it's going to be done in a proper way to protect the health and well-being of the people who live on the block.
Okay, let me address that. We submitted a blasting plan by Dave Ambrosia, who is the blaster that would be doing the work on site. That was submitted to your record, Kitty.
I did not see that yet.
Yeah, it's in there, it's a meeting before, if not earlier.
But Steve, it wasn't specific to that site. It was general.
It's blasting is blasting.
Right.
It's
They didn't
there-
come to
it's
the
not-
site.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we do this one at a time, please, Diane?
it is not
I asked
specific.
David a question.
Okay,
Are you okay
it's-
with tonight? David, will somebody
go
be
ahead, Diane, then I'll answer it.
okay, just 1 second, please. Thank you. David, do you think they'd be able to come here and address, or do you think there's any way they could look at her letter and address her comments?
Well, that's for you to ask the applicant. If you want the applicant's expert, in this case, Mr. Ambrosio, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, if you want them to speak to any specific methods that they would be using for this property, you have that right to ask for that expert to
Well, I mean,
to offer comment.
If we have a child who has these health issues, then I think that they should be able, either you have him come here or have him look at the property and inform us of what's going to happen.
Well,
Mr.
that's a request that would be driven by the commission. If the commission
Yeah.
feels that request
Yeah.
is necessary, then that should come from you.
For a third party.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
I prefer a third party come in
yeah, well,
and address it.
yeah,
The guy who did the plan.
the man who's going to do the actual blasting, you mean?
I mean, I like the suggestion that DEP comes in and reviews the plan.
I've never seen that. I'm terribly sorry. Now, David, is that possible? Can we have DEP take a look at the plan?
So the DEEP, I'm not sure from an environmental perspective what authority they would have to review a site plan like this. As Mr. Trinkus said, that they would be the authority with respect to air quality. I'm sure you could always ask the Director of Public Health for similar input. The commission has asked the Director of Public Health for comments on air quality in the past for other applications that have been before you.
Yeah.
So if you want them to weigh in on this matter as well, like Mr. Trinkus just said, he has just provided a response to the health department dated May 1st, but it's being submitted today. So the health department will look at that. If they feel that air quality is a comment that needs to be addressed, or if you want the health department to weigh in on that, if it's appropriate, then you can ask them to do so, most definitely.
Well, I'd like to respond to that. Laura's comments were back in January. She had plenty of time to raise any concerns about it. She didn't mention anything about air quality. She talked about potentially acid runoff from the rock, which is a generic comment, because anything that occurs when you have, rainfall on open quarries is where it actually occurs. DEEP has no jurisdiction over blasting. That's the state fire marshal. So, and I will tell you, in just trying to deal with DEEP on other projects, they don't get back to anybody. It took me over 3 weeks to get an email response from the wastewater management group on a simple question. So, but again, I really unfortunately have the feeling that this is being singled out, perhaps because of the area it is, versus any other project that has had blasting in the town of Bethel. And I think out of the fairness issue, you've got to be consistent, with things. This is no different than any other site. There was blasting for Good Hill Road when that was put in years ago. I mean, you go up to the top of the hill there, it's all shot rock.
Right, but there weren't any houses. There weren't any existing houses. That
weren't
was a
any
rock piece of land.
There were houses along Taylor Avenue. The houses
Like
along
you said,
Taylor have been there for years.
Up on the top of Good Hill, you just said. That was a rock piece of
Good
land
Hill.
deep away from our properties.
The idea of this, Mr. Trinkus, and if I may interject, is that we have a child with health problems, and that is what is running this question right now. And I'm sorry, but that needs to be answered.
But you have no evidence that the work we're proposing here will do any harm to that child. There
We
is
don't.
no evidence that's being provided that what we're gonna do on this site will potentially provide any harm to that child.
But you're not an expert in this category, Mr. Trinkus, and I think an expert should be someone, I want someone here who can tell us that.
Well, I would say David can contact DEP. I just do not believe you will get an answer out of it.
What about the okay, fire marshal or the gentleman who is going to do the blasting itself?
If you want independent, you should ask DEP about air quality because air quality is regulated by them, Kitty. If you want a question on air quality answered, then you go to the authority that regulates air quality in the state of Connecticut, and that is Connecticut DEP.
If we don't do blasting, when we do another form of rock fracture, there's no dust. So
There's
we
very
already-
little dust even with blasting today, but you're correct. If you don't use blasting, then there is no dust in the first place.
Well, why can't you bring in your gentleman who's going to do the blasting, who can answer this question for us?
The blaster is not an expert on air quality, Kitty. He is an expert on
He's an
drilling
expert on
and
blasting.
removing rock.
How much disturbance is going to be? Is that not true?
It all depends on the rock. This is very firm rock. This is not well fractured rock, so there's likely going to come out in pretty good size, be broken up into pretty good chunks without a lot of loose stuff and small particles that would become airborne. When the rock is competent, as it's known, it cracks, but it doesn't fly apart in a million small pieces. I mean, for things to be in the air, you're talking, particles the size of fine silts and clays to be airborne. Coarser materials aren't going to ever become airborne because they're too heavy to become airborne. But if you want independent opinion, you can talk to DEP. That's the expert in Connecticut.
Okay.
Jeremy,
Yes.
is there any suggestions on who we can have in here? And
We can look for, professionals in air quality monitoring. Typically, I think the concern is more about dust on the site.
Mhm.
And so I'd be curious if there's a dust management plan for this site. I don't know if there is in the file, spraying down, wetting the areas where truck traffic is. Those are typically the areas I see that are more of a concern than blasting. Blasting is usually done with mats, fairly well contained, and for sort of a limited duration.
That's why I was just saying to have his gentleman who's going to do the blasting come in and explain to us what it is he's going to do.
I think that makes sense.
Not the DEP, Mr. Trinkus, but your
Okay.
gentleman who's going to.
I'm willing to continue this to the 27th for the sole purpose of having Mr. Ambrosia address this issue.
Thank you very much.
That's the only thing we're going to discuss.
We decide.
Take us one step at a time. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think it's up to the commission to determine what we want to discuss
Exactly.
and not up to you. Just as a point of order here, Mr. Trinkus.
I mean,
This is going to be our fourth night of public hearing on a relative.
We had
Yeah.
mentioned that we wouldn't be on our fourth meeting.
this lady submitted this letter the last time and it was not addressed.
Attorney Marcus addressed the air quality, stating to the board that that's under the jurisdiction of DEP.
Excuse me, I listened to the video, Mr. Trinkus. We did not address this lady's letter. And that's what needs to be addressed. That is important. The health of her child is important, and that's what we need to do.
I'll have Mr. Ambrosia come to the next meeting.
Excellent.
Can I just continue explaining why why I started talking about the trucks, dump trucks, and asking where they're coming, because they're coming from Nashville site. They will be and I assume there will be times when dump trucks will be standing on the street, idling for minutes. Right?
In front of our house.
In front of our house. So I did some research, and if a truck is idling between 1 to 3 minutes, it is people with asthma may start experiencing effect due to the air quality. After 5 to 10 minutes, the localized air quality is significantly worsens. And then it also says that if it's a repeating issue, please raise concern to DEP. So that's another issue that I'm having because those trucks will be standing
I don't know that.
idly.
I don't know that.
Well,
Or we get a DEP.
Yeah.
For multiple
But
reasons.
I doubt,
not just
no,
that.
I
I
don't
don't
think.
mind, I didn't hear from him.
and I believe
Need to hear from
it's
DEP.
illegal, more than 3 minutes.
With, David, is it possible, now I'm asking you, or, Sharon, is it possible to have someone from DEP come here?
I wouldn't count on that.
I've never seen it
Yeah.
in my 32 years. I've never seen it happen.
They don't typically get involved in local applications like
Right.
this. What I will say is that there is an anti-idling law in the state.
Yeah.
If the trucks are backed up on the road, you're gonna have a big problem in terms of traffic. I don't know the particulars of the street, but I'm pretty sure your local police department is not gonna be too happy if trucks are stationed out there. And I'm pretty sure the applicant probably doesn't want those trucks sitting out on the road either. So
I'm sure.
while I understand the concern and I get it, I think, I think that trying to regulate something based on a hypothetical is gonna put you down the path you don't really want to go down. So that's what I would say about that.
Yeah.
So valid concern, but again, there is an idling law, and if it's broken, a simple phone call fixes that.
If I may, their attorney explained the idling law. So here we are, somebody not intentionally breaks the time frame, and the truck is out there for 10 minutes. It's too late. What are we gonna do? Call and say somebody was here for 10 minutes? Who's got proof if the damage is already done?
I agree, and that's always the struggle with enforcement, right? I mean, you can't enforce something until there's an enforcement. We deal with it in zoning enforcement, we deal with it in wetlands enforcement. There's always a little bit of level of trust that people are gonna follow the law. And sometimes that goes off the rails, but it's next to impossible to sit back and try to come up with solutions to a hypothetical because you're not gonna be able to do it. So I understand the concern, truly, I do, because an asthmatic myself, I get it. But, I think, I don't know that, that's the concern to focus on. Like I said, if dust is something you want to look at, I think that's valid to talk about. But
And there's more than just us to talk about, because there's a concern here based on what I understood to be prior history, where some blasting took place and it affected the water wells of the neighborhood. And then in addition to that, there was discussion about the need to have a survey of the surrounding houses and their structures to ensure that if damage occurs due to blasting, there's documentation. So those are all items that were discussed in any one of the 4 prior meetings.
sure.
Yeah, there are to be surveys done,
Yep, pre-blast survey.
Blast
pretty
surveys.
typical. Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Kitty, yes, we said we would do pre-blast surveys. The state law requires a minimum of 250 feet from the area being blasted for that, which was shown on one of the site plans. There was no blasting on this site. I don't know if the other commissioner was talking about the one north, Mr. Draper's property, but there has been no blasting on this site ever.
But will there be during this time that you're working? Will there be any blasting done?
Well, yeah, to remove the rock on this site, yes, Kitty, there will be blasting on this site.
So there will be a survey done to the property within 250 feet.
Correct, per the state law, yes.
Yes.
And let me caveat, as long as the homeowner lets the blaster do the pre-blast survey, homeowners do have the right to refuse to let somebody go into their house to do a pre-blast survey. But if they do, basically then they can't claim an impact from the blasting because there's no baseline study of it. So it behooves homeowners to let the guy do the pre-blast survey because it protects everybody.
Exactly. So you would let them do the survey,
Well,
right?
at the last meeting, it was asked that the houses that would be considered would be provided. Was that provided? The gentleman,
I'm sorry?
at the last meeting, there was.
If you're within 250
Right.
feet, your house will
But
be,
that was asked that houses, that it will be provided which houses are covered. And that was asked at the last meeting, that this was answered at this meeting.
You're looking for a list of which ones, Are gonna
One
be
of the
included.
gentlemen here said, can you have that ready for the next meeting?
probably Mike, I think. I remember
Which,
Mike
yes,
saying that.
which 200 feet is
250.
Yeah.
250.
Do we know?
I can, Kitty, since we're gonna continue it, I can provide the list of specific addresses, but it's 250 feet from the area of the rock to be removed, not from the, property line where there's no blasting occurring. It's from the area of blasting, but I can provide that list.
That's excellent then. That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Kenny, you had asked how many dump trucks here we anticipated.
I'm thinking we got a number.
Did we ever get a?
Yes,
an answer?
700.
It's on the title page of the plan, which I don't have my full set up, but I can
I
set it up.
think that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In addition to that, I like to understand what is the staging plan? Are we looking to have a truck on site and 3 on the street? Or are we looking to have a truck on site and somewhere off on a staging area? The ones needing to be loaded? Is information that we're entitled to have?
Trucks will not be allowed to sit on Taylor Avenue from a safety point of view. The road, it's not like Route 53, which has 2 large lanes. So trucks simply cannot sit on Taylor Avenue. They will have to pull into the site. The initial part of the driveway is a mild grade. Regarding the truck trips, let me just share my screen again here.
Mhm.
Is about 706 loads. It's a net export of soil and rock of about 12,000 yards. So we not only have the rock to remove, but we're using a lot more on site with this, the different house footprints, because I have a retaining wall behind some of them, which I have to fill in behind. So some of the blasted material that we're taking out of the knoll will go, as fill. But some of the rest of the site is cut down, but that's in sand and gravel material that Mr. Delorio will likely take to his shop up on Payne Road to use it for septic fill. It's very high quality material. And the 700 trips, you may have a day where, they're just drilling the rock and there's not a truck going in and out, and then again, you might have a day where there's 15 or 20 throughout the day, but it's not all at once and it's over an extended period of time because people have to need the material to take it off the site. If not, we're just going to have to find a place to temporarily stockpile it until there is a need for the material to be sold.
Okay, I understand. So there's not, the trucks aren't going to be there in the
No,
road.
they will not be in the road. The police department would never allow that, quite honestly.
Okay.
So, where are they gonna be then? If they're not on the road and they're not on the site? we're
They'll
parking
be
lot.
on the site. They'll be on the site. They won't be allowed to be on the road.
Yeah, it's a gentleman.
What's it?
I'll jam them in there. They'll find a way.
They'll get them on this site.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you have, where the driveway comes in, we have a relatively flat lawn area, but, that's where the stormwater is going. But is to get the rock out, Mr. Olario is going to have to build the driveway up to basically behind the existing house where the rock starts. And if a truck is going in there to get loaded, that's where they're going to be, to go into the site and not be on Taylor Avenue.
Okay. Excellent. That's good.
Do we have the surveys done? When do the surveys get
The
done?
surveys, the pre-blast surveys are done before any blasting is commenced at all. Generally a week or 2 in advance of it. If somebody, say, is not home, and they're within that 250 foot, if they're on vacation, they would wait till they can do the survey before they would, blast on the site. They might drill, but they wouldn't blast until they can do that survey. It benefits both parties, the resident and the blaster.
Okay.
Would there be any reasons that, from the results of the survey that may say that it's not safe to blast? Wouldn't you want those surveys done before you started anything?
Well, you're doing the surveys. What you're looking for in a pre-blast survey of existing houses, you're looking, as an example, if there's already some cracks in the sheetrock, maybe at a door joist, a door joist or around a window. They also look at the foundations to see if there's any cracks in the foundation. Everything is documented with photographs of what they found, where they found it, so that you have a baseline. So if after the blasting, all of a sudden a crack that was a 1/16 of an inch in the foundation wall is now a 1/2 inch, okay, that would have been due to the blasting. The blaster would be liable to repair that issue. It's creating a baseline of what the structures look like. So if there is any damage after the blasting, it's from the blasting because you have pictures from before and after.
So, but at the next meeting, you'll be able to tell us which houses you will
Yes.
be surveying
Yes,
specifically.
yes.
So that's good. Okay,
And the staging of the trucks.
well, they already said this truck should
They'll be on the site. They'll be in the driveway, the
probably be on the side.
driveway from Taylor Avenue up to the eastern edge of the ledge. That's
He's gonna have,
where they'll be.
Yeah, but this is over here.
this is in front of somebody else's house and now he's spewing.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what are the, do you have anything else to ask? Well, go ahead, yes.
I'd like to see a staging plan. Right? Where are you gonna hold these trucks? Are they gonna be exclusively on site? Or are you gonna have them parked in front of some other location? If you're looking at, I think how many was the maximum number of trucks in one day?
706.
Roughly
Oh,
700.
did it? Oh, no.
In one day? So
No,
it
no.
see that your blast guy has to have had calculated already. So I'm not asking for any information that he doesn't already have.
Well, I can, give you a narrative on the staging, but it's just going to occur on site. Trucks will not be allowed to park on Taylor Avenue. The police would never permit that.
Okay, so if they're not on Taylor Avenue and they're not on the site, where will they be?
No, well, they're in transit. If a truck, say, is coming from Reading to get blasted rock, he's going to come into the site, he's going to get loaded, he's going to leave and go to Reading, get rid of the material, and he's going to come back and come onto the site. And that's how it works. It's,
All right, okay. Is that clear for you?
Push it in writing.
Kenny, anything further you have?
No.
Jeff, I'm sorry. We could talk like hello. What about Diane or Bob? Diane or Bob, do you have any questions to ask?
Steve, as far as the health department letter that you responded to now that we haven't seen your response to,
Yeah.
I had asked that like 2 or 3 different meetings. So, I'm just putting that out there, and just let me finish because there's a couple other things. I had asked you about the blasting plan, and you said it was a general, because it had the wrong name on there. It didn't have Bethel. And you said it was just a general plan, and that the man had not been out to actually look at the site to come up with a specific blasting plan for that property. So I'm a little confused about that. And then the rock that's next to the, on the road where the turn is, that rock is right next to that property, right next to that house. So there's 2 different big rocks, that one that's on the property and one that's on that curve. You were saying you were going to have to do that, blast that rock first before you were able to do the septic situation.
well, no, we
the
said, okay.
sewers. So, and then the other thing is that there still was a letter from April 21st from the Public Utilities Department talking about the change that you had done, having more bedrooms, and the proposed sewer allocation was more, and needed to have the Public Utilities Commission look at that at the next scheduled meeting, which was May 8th. I don't know if that happened or not, but that was an important thing.
It's a few more gallons. Flows by bedroom are 150 gallons per bedroom under the health code. But when you take that 150 gallons per day per bedroom and you then reduce it down to cubic feet per second, which is how a sanitary sewer is sized. The 8-inch line that we're proposing has probably 7 to 8 times the capacity of this development. But we can address that. Regarding the blasting of the corner, as the sewer and water lines are being brought up from the front of Mr. Draper's property to this site, we believe there is going to be rock for the lines in the road. And as we've previously stated, that Tony would be happy to work with the town to remove a chunk of that rock on the corner. And because of the location of it, and quite honestly, because it sticks way above the ground, it likely might be hammered out with a hydraulic hammer versus actually blasting it. It depends how much the town wants it cut back. But the town has had that rock has been there ever since I was a little kid going to Bethel with my father. So it goes back to the 60s. But it will be cut back at the direction of public utilities and DPW while we're doing the sanitary sewer and water. So
That's what you were here for? Aaron?
No.
No? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you was.
One other question. Are you gonna have any rock crushers on site?
depending on we did in the erosion narrative, one would be kind of where the existing house is, which is where the 4-unit building would be. If the rock, comes out in manageable pieces, then, if somebody wants rock for like retaining walls, they're not going to want small pieces. They're going to want larger pieces. I know Mr. DiOrio at his site on Payne Road, has a screener there for sand and gravel. And it's possible they may take the material up there. It depends how it comes out and, what people want it for. If you want it for retaining walls, you want kind of bigger pieces. So, but we did anticipate, that there could be a temporary crusher here, where the existing house is, to crush that rock.
Okay, and that's right behind Mr. Draper's apartment building.
Well, the existing house is when you, right, pretty much where the footprint of the existing house is where the crusher would be located, at the time of construction after the house is removed, because that's a relatively level area right there.
But it's very, very close. That rock is very close to the back of the Draper's apartment.
The rock goes all the way down to Mr. Draper's property line, but we're not cutting that far back. The top of it is well within our site, and we're actually building retaining walls out of the boulders, to fill in closer to Mr. Draper's property line.
Bob, did you have any questions to ask?
Yes, Steve, Mr. Ambrosia comes in with his blasting plan and gives it to the commission. He still has to go through the fire marshal and get that approved by the fire marshal in order to start a blasting plan.
Oh, absolutely, Bob. Yes. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, all right, Bob?
Steve, so you did not feel that this needed to go before the this other board for the sewer? I mean, the septic.
We submitted the application quite a while ago for the extension of the sewer and water. I've actually never been notified by Mr. Villa of a meeting.
Right.
We filed the formal request.
No, the April 21st meeting, he said that the project has been revised to reduce the number of units to 20. However, the number of bedrooms has been increased to 32. And it talks about the sewer allocation. And then it says on number 3, it says on-site well and septic, including septic tank, are required to be properly abandoned. And that they were going to meet at the next scheduled PUC meeting was May 8th. So were you supposed to go before them with that?
I didn't get any notice of the meeting at all, Diane, from public utilities.
This letter is.
You have to.
Well, they generally invite, if they want the applicant there, they invite the applicant there. I can reach out to Mr. Villa and give him the updated sewer flow. But again, it's not significant, when you get down to what cubic feet per second it's used. to size sanitary sewer lines.
So this corner rock is actually on somebody's property where the owners of
No,
the
it's town,
property
it's on town property.
asked, I'm sorry, it's on town's property.
Okay.
Very close to the house,
Yeah, it is,
like within
but it is town property.
30 or 40 feet from the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll chip it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll wind up using a hammer to chip off as much as they can.
Right. Okay.
You do have someone's hand raised online.
Oh, I'm sorry. David?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may just interject briefly, I would advise that you poll the rest of the commission to make sure they don't have any other questions that they would like the applicant to answer or respond to before you formally go out to public comment. It just kind of got intermingled. I don't think that was on purpose, but I think you should just clarify that.
No, thank you. So, commission members, do you have any other further questions
I'm all set.
for right now?
Yeah.
Jeff?
I'm okay for now.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Bob, Diane, you okay for now?
Okay, for now.
Okay, so who is it, David?
It looks like Annie Brodvig has her hand raised, Madam Chair.
Annie Brudvig?
Hi.
Hi there.
If
Hi.
you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. This is Annie Brudvig. I'm at 50 Taylor Avenue.
Okay. And you have a question?
Yeah, I had sent a letter on April 22nd. I emailed a letter and I wanted to ask if that was received and if it could be read.
David, do we have it?
Yes, so the commission did receive your letter, Annie. If it isn't in the Google Drive, which it should already be under public comments for tonight's meeting, it will be placed there in time for when the commission continues its meeting or this hearing on the 27th. The commission typically doesn't go in the habit of reading letters aloud that are submitted for the record. But I would yield to the chair if you want that letter to be read. That's at your discretion.
Do you want it read on the next meeting?
No.
Yeah.
If the chair wants that letter to be read into the record, you can have you can decide whether or not you want that letter to be read in.
You mean now?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like it read now?
I would like it to be read right now if that's possible.
Okay. David, could you read it?
Is
Let
it,
me just find it here briefly.
is it in the Google Drive? Do you know where it is in here?
No, I don't.
It should be under public comments. But if it isn't, we do have receipt of the letter. Let me just try to find it here.
Thank you.
I don't see it in the Google Drive, but.
Okay. So we have a copy. The letter is titled "Copy of 53 Taylor Avenue Concerns." It's dated April 22nd, 2025. To whom it may concern, I am writing to express deep and ongoing concern about the proposed construction at 53 Taylor Avenue on behalf of myself and several neighbors who share these sentiments. Let me be clear. The proposed use of explosives to blast and remove massive rock outcropping is not a micro, end quote, or quote, small, end quote, operation, despite repeated attempts by the developer's lawyer and project engineer to downplay it. This is large-scale blasting with real and serious implications for nearby homes, residents, and the environment. The commission has a duty to demand transparency, seek expert insight, and not rely solely on the narrative presented by those who stand to benefit financially from the project. If the commission lacks a complete understanding of the scope and risks of this blasting, then it must consider engaging an independent third-party specialist, someone with no vested interest, who can assess and report on the potential environmental and structural impacts this project may cause. It is unacceptable that basic critical questions remain unanswered. Weeks have passed, yet we still await specific and concrete information regarding the estimated volume of rock to be removed, the number and frequency of vehicles required for removal, the procedures to notify and guide neighboring property owners in testing wells and septic systems prior to detonation. Furthermore, the claim that an environmental or geological survey would be, quote, inappropriate, end quote, for this project should not go unchallenged. The commission should seriously question the validity of this assertion, especially when it comes from individuals whose objective is to push the project through. Health and safety, not developer convenience, must be the commission's priority. The issue of traffic cannot be ignored. On Saturday, April 12th, a car veered off the road at 50 Taylor Avenue, destroyed our mailbox, and continued 40 feet into our yard, where my 2 young children play every day. The police report is on file. Taylor Avenue is already too narrow for safe two-way traffic, and adding construction vehicles, let alone 20 new residential units, will only worsen the hazard. Blasting rock at the bends near the bottom of the road can make the area even more dangerous, not improve navigability. Also, nobody has spoken to the property owners on the corner about this potential, and suggesting this as a solution is irresponsible and presumptive. I urge the commission to pause and ask yourselves, have we done everything possible to ensure the safety of current residents? Finally, I propose that the town consider making Taylor Avenue a one-way street. This would not only alleviate traffic, but also create space for a safe, community-focused sidewalk system. If this development moves forward, do we not owe it to new and current residents alike to provide safe pedestrian and bike access to downtown? This project, as proposed, is reckless and short-sighted, but there is still time to pursue a path that values community safety and thoughtful growth. With serious concern, Annie Brudvig, on behalf of the residents of Taylor Avenue.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I believe when the gentleman comes next week, he'll be able to be able to answer more of your questions, so you'll understand better what's going to happen.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think Annie was asking in her letter, though, to find a third party.
Yeah.
specialist to help us understand. We don't have an expert on staff. None of us know anything about it. You know, and to just take the applicant's word for it when they have different interests, I don't think is the right move. I
You need
think
to
we should
bring in
seek out-
someone else?
We should seek a third party expert. You know, we bring our other civil engineering experts, you know, to comment on lots of site plans and stuff, but we've never.
Well, what about our own
nobody's
town
qualified.
engineer? Do you think Dave, what about our own town engineer? Do you think they could, is that our gentleman down there?
Yeah, no, that, I don't have the experience of blasting. I'd have to call it up.
You know, I hear from the applicant, the blasting's the same everywhere. It can't be when you know, houses is close. So, you know, I feel like we should commission a third party to come in here and speak to us about the plan that the applicant is proposing with his blasting.
Hey, Jeremy, is that something you can do? Find someone for us to listen to?
I can ask around to see who's out there. Yeah.
Okay,
For our next meeting.
yeah,
Yeah, your time constraint is gonna be tricky.
That's gonna be hard.
You know, for us to find somebody and then to actually commission somebody for 2 weeks from now, that's gonna be
Exactly.
tricky, but I can ask the question.
can't hurt.
Yeah. So just so that I get a basic understanding of what it is, you're looking for a professional opinion from a third party blasting professional.
Yeah.
To tell you what exactly.
Different ways of blasting, how is the current one, you know,
Is the plan that's presented to us safe?
Well, what about our
How are
own,
we supposed to determine whether their plan is safe? Just
what about our own
because
fire
they have a
chief
seal
here?
on it?
Who takes care of, he does blasting all the time, doesn't he?
So fire marshals have to issue the blasting permit.
Yeah, that's our fire marshal who
Fire
does that.
marshal, right. They issue
So
the
don't you
permit.
think Tom Galliford would be able to answer those questions?
I don't know,
I don't know.
I don't know.
David, what do you think? Do you think we could ask Tom Galliford to do that?
Yeah, if the commission wants to formally broach, if the commission is looking for staff to ask Mr. Galliford, we can definitely do that. As to what kind of response he'll be able to give, I can't say.
I mean, he's worked with blasting for a long time now. So I don't see why he couldn't be of some help to us.
All right,
Yeah.
let's get him
I
in
think
here.
he would be
Yeah. Okay, David, can we do that? Show it to him, and have him look at it and come to us
Have them
and
come to us.
talk about it?
If that's what you're requesting, yes, I see Mr. Trinkus has his hand raised. He may have a comment on, that he would want to address on this.
And that's something we have right now. Yeah, who has a lot to do with blasting.
And we'll eventually have to review the permit application when it comes forward.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Right.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
So we don't want to get a blasting expert that's.
Well, that's what our that's what our chief is.
I
He
don't
does
think
that.
he's.
No.
Well, he's not an actual expert, right? I mean,
He is, yes, he
He
is.
certainly understands it more than we do, Diane.
yeah, he does. but
I
he's
mean,
not somebody
he
that
works
can
with
do it.
people who are blasting and he looks at their applications, all the time. Does, Mr. Trinkus, haven't you been involved with, Mr. Galliford? from
Yeah,
time to
if I may address that, Kitty, you're absolutely right. I mean, Mr. Galliford is your fire marshal. He regulates blasting in the town of Bethel.
Yes,
He's seen blasting throughout the town of Bethel. He is your expert on this.
our expert, yes.
As the state law delegates him as that person.
Well, that's
So
good.
he is your expert.
Good. Then we'll have him look at it and then come here and talk to us about it.
Yes.
And January 6th is the last letter he's written to about that. What's the last letter he responded to?
I also need to make one other comment. Now,
Go ahead.
under being a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, my legal obligation under my license is the public health, safety, welfare, not to a client, not to a project, not to anything but public health, safety, welfare. And I have done it for 40 plus years with no issues. I do the plans right. We don't have problems, but that's my obligation is public health, safety, welfare. I can lose my license by violating that canon, and I will never get close to doing so.
Good. Excellent. So we'll have enough people coming in and looking at it and talking to us, and we'll have a better idea by the next meeting and how we're going to move forward.
All right.
If exactly we're going to move forward.
Correct.
Okay, Seth. I think we will, continue this hearing until the next meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.
Which is just to be clear, that is May 27th,
May 27th. Thank you.
7:00.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right. Our next item, One Nova Drive LLC, 72 Reservoir Road, is continued
Good letter.
until May 27th, 2025, as requested by the applicant. We'll move right into our business meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting on 4/22/2025?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? Make a motion to accept the minutes of 4/22/2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. We have a amendment we have to make.
Paul, I did print out too, if everyone wants to look at it.
Yeah, is everything?
Yeah, and I
email
printed
or-
out, exactly what, Attorney O'Brien wanted to say, and then from what was written, so,
You want to pass that out?
Yeah, I'll-
In case anyone needs to see it.
I have mine.
okay, so just, all right, so just pass it down, so.
We do it.
And I did email it as well.
That's what I got.
We can make a motion,
Here you go.
condition of approval. If there's no alternate, no reason why we can't.
Mhm. I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended minutes of 4/8/25.
Second.
Thank you, Diane.
Before I call a vote, I'm just going to read the amendment into the record. The amendment should read, Attorney M. O'Brien referred to materials that were provided to the commission, including the offer to purchase dated March 12th, 2025, Economic Development Commission minutes dated March 12th, 2025, and stated the reason for the referral to P&Z was the sale of town-owned property. She asked that the motion, if approved, reflect a positive report under both 824 and town charter regarding the offer to purchase 19 Trowbridge Drive from the town for $300,000. Motion by Mike Kozlowski, seconded by Kitty Grant, that the commission issued a positive report under both C.G.S. Section 8-24 and town charter regarding the offer to purchase 19 Trowbridge Drive, Bethel from the town. Paraphrasing here. That's it.
Okay, so
And we have a,
motion and
Yeah.
Diane seconded.
Kitty, yep, Kitty did, Diane second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will just abstain, so I left early for that meeting.
Sure.
And the motion passes.
Thank
We have an invoice.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone talking.
We have an invoice for the News Times for $1,904.75 for public noticing. A motion to pay that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right.
Oh, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah,
Does
about-
somebody from the office, make sure that those things are getting into the newspaper? Because when I look at the digital copy of the newspaper, I don't see much in there.
I email them to the News Times, Diane.
What's that?
I email them to the News Times.
Right, but then do you make sure that you see them in there? Because,
I saw it.
okay, because I don't know how many different things cost that much money, but I'm not.
News
Well,
Times
yeah.
is very expensive.
Yeah. But every single time there's a legal notice, I email the News Times.
Diane, I'm looking at the invoice now. If you want, we can get this email to you if you'd like.
Okay,
Would you like that?
sure. I mean,
Alright.
because we want to make sure that we're seeing it in the newspaper. I know you email them, but
Yeah. I did.
Diane, how many invoices would you like me to email to you?
oh, no, just for this one is fine. The 1,001 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just, I've been looking in, and seeing a lot from Field and Danbury, and everything. I just haven't seen a lot.
Every day. So I got it. I'm one of these weird people. I don't mind you taking it.
All right, we'll move into the work session. We have Upstream Properties 2 LLC, the amended site plan. We had
I have the draft denial right here. Pass that down.
I'm sorry.
And I also emailed it as well.
Paul,
yes, sir.
I have a comment before we go any further with that.
Sure.
I believe the date on that is wrong. I think the May meeting in the year 22 was May 10th.
Oh, yeah. What's 623?
2022.
Yeah.
And I would like to give everybody the opportunity here to do the right thing and reconsider this thing as far as approving this thing, since it does not violate any of our zoning regulations. It actually meets our regulations on some of the issues that are brought up in the text of the letter of denial. Thank you.
Hey, Paul,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion we consider taking another vote.
As to approve this?
Yeah,
So this is just this is the vote, like if you want to approve the denial or not. Because you guys just did a consensus last time. You didn't do an actual vote last time.
Okay.
So if you vote no, the majority votes no, then this won't go through. They could do another vote.
You just read this.
Yeah.
And then you either vote
But
yes or no.
but
that's all.
I missed what Bob said. Bob, what was the change you said?
Amanda, I'm a little confused here. Help me out. We took a consensus vote
Yes.
Yes.
And I abstained from that. I
Okay.
wanted to do more research.
Okay.
And then we took another vote on the following meeting.
I wasn't here at that
That
meeting.
was not a consensus vote.
Are you sure?
Yes, that was a consensus vote, Mr.
I
Chairman.
thought-
To rewrite,
Vote.
Hold on.
I
I'm pulling
thought it
up,
was a vote.
hold on, I'm pulling up the minutes right
I
now.
thought it was too.
Hold on, I'm looking.
No.
No, it was a consensus.
Both of them were consensus votes?
Yes.
That is correct. And the reason for that, Mr. Braden, was so that way that staff could have a formal motion prepared for the commission, which is what we've done for you tonight.
Right, we didn't have, yes, it wasn't written up. We
Yeah.
didn't Technically know what we were voting on.
The first one was a tie, right? And an abstention.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
second vote was 4-3.
No, but that wasn't a motion, Diane. That was a consensus.
Yeah, the first consensus, it was a tie, and then you did this one.
Right.
So we can start over.
I mean,
No, we're not starting
that's
over.
not it.
If this gets rejected, then we go back. But if it gets approved,
Uh-huh.
we go forward.
Well,
Yep.
I'd like to move forward with the, we took a consensus.
Yep.
We have a consensus to ask staff to put a motion, denial together for us, so,
Mhm.
I'm gonna make a motion to deny this request.
Wait,
So you're gonna approve the denial.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
making a motion
okay.
to approve the denial.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
second,
I'll call for a roll call vote. Okay,
No,
Eric,
Yes.
I am a yes. Okay.
Yeah. You're yes to approve this.
To deny,
Yes
to approve.
denies it.
Approve the denial.
I approve the denial. I said yes.
All right, what's your vote, Kitty?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a yes.
Bob?
I'm a no. Based on my comments before, the fact that it meets the regulations. We're denying something that meets our regulations completely.
And Diane?
I'm a yes vote.
Okay, so the denial went through.
Excellent. We'll move on to number 6B, David Robert and Tamara Ortiz. It's 117 Chestnut Ridge Road, the re-subdivision.
I have that draft.
I had asked staff to put together a draft of approval for that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Amanda is distributing a draft resolution of approval for your consideration. As we speak, I will also bring it up on the computer for the benefit of those that aren't there in person. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
What?
Yeah.
Yes, me.
Yeah, but it's not readable.
Oh,
Draft,
All right, I will zoom in here, just bear with me.
I know. We asked, we got an answer.
draft is readable.
there you go.
That's better. I knew there was a button in there somewhere.
For what?
To enlarge it.
Oh, to enlarge it. Why
So
do you-
I will
You're not-
scroll
yeah.
through this slowly while the commission reads this. If you have any questions or would like any sections of this draft to be amended, just let me know.
That's right. I didn't think of that. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve a special permit application for a 2-lot re-subdivision of land pertaining to a 2.694 acre parcel located at 117 Chestnut Ridge Road in the R20 zone as shown on a map entitled Subdivision Map prepared for David Robert Ortiz and Tamara C. Ortiz, depicting property situated at 117 Chestnut Ridge Road, Town of Bethel, State of Connecticut, dated August 20th, 2019, revised March 10th, 2020, excuse me, and revised February 5th, 2025 by Zachary S. Rapp, L.S. number 70420, with the following stipulations: 1 through 6. The commission stated upon its record that the development of the proposed subdivision and its improvements will not exert detrimental effect on the neighboring properties or the surrounding district. The plans are in substantial conformance with the subdivision and zoning regulations of the town of Bethel.
Second.
Can we discuss it before we vote?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The question is, they are gonna be doing blasting, and Beth had said another time that we could set hours and that kind of thing. I don't know what the extent of.
We always have hours for blasting. We always do that. We always have hours for blasting.
Right,
It's usually between
Right,
8
so,
and 5.
so in the permit that would be issued by the fire marshal, that they would also have jurisdiction over the hours of operation. And furthermore, it's not gonna make sense for the applicant to blast when they can't excavate the material out, which the commission has zoning regulations on. Your hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Fridays, no holidays or weekends.
That's it.
Okay,
Exactly.
and there's no reference to inland wetland being approving the project. Do we need that in there?
That's a great question, Diane. If I had had a chance to have a final version of the resolution of approval that the Inland Wetlands Commission voted on last night, which passed successfully, which like I said, they did last night. I would have had that here for you, but just so you know, Wetlands did approve this application.
Excellent.
We don't need to put anything in there that says,
Yeah, that.
and the date that it was approved or anything, or?
Your in the past, your approvals have not included that. If you would like them to going forward and starting with this one, I'd be happy to have that in there.
We never do that.
Okay, wondered.
All right, I'll call for a roll. Ken?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
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 Diane?
Yes,
Bob?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna move into our public input. And as a reminder to the public, that's all gathered here tonight, please refrain from talking about any applications that are currently open in public hearing. So seeing no one with their hand raised in the room, we'll turn it online. Anyone online have their hand raised?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman, but I will remind those attending by Google Meets that there is a button explicitly to raise your hand in the toolbar at the bottom of the Google Meets app.
All right. Seeing none, I'll turn it to Mr. Jeremy. You have anything for your planners report tonight?
I am brand new. I do not have a report.
Guys are fine.
So we'll expect one the next.
I'll give you one next time. I don't know how long it'll be, but you'll get something.
All right, go over down to commission comments. Ken?
No. I'm good.
Eric? All good.
No.
Yeah, I have a question. A while back, we received a regulation that pertained to dumpsters. Where are we on that? What is? We don't have regulations. The
We do.
state, we do.
We adopted them last month.
We did adopt them.
Yeah, I think we were.
Last month.
If it was during the month of March, I was out.
Yeah, it
That's what
was
it was.
fairly recently.
Okay, so that was my
That's what it
question.
was.
All right, and my next comment is that can we set a schedule for the TOD? And at least attempt to
You beat me to it. That was gonna be my comment. I
Yeah.
was gonna discuss where I was at with that.
Alright.
Do you have anything
Yeah.
else?
No, that's it.
Diane?
Could you, Dave, or someone email all of us the actual, the wording for the beer garden and the wording for the dumpster that we can put into our, books?
Yeah, so I believe we'll have an amended version of the regs made available to you that reflects the commission adopting that amendment.
The other thing is, we've been finding lately that they are putting a whole lot of things all on the same plan, which makes it difficult to read. So, is there a way that we can request that not to be happening in the future? Makes it more difficult. And then, the one that was done, not online last time, which was, I think, the one we just approved. It wasn't on Google, to be able to read it very easily.
To read what? I'm sorry, I don't
Plans,
understand.
site plans.
So you wanna, so
The plan. Mike and I talked about it.
you just wanna ask the applicant to see if they can provide separate site plans showing different,
Right, because
Thank-
there's so many lines on things lately that you really, normally they had separated those out, and I don't know, it just makes it more difficult to read.
So the commission has an application checklist, which includes what needs to be included on each site plan sheet, that the applicant needs to submit as part of their application. If the commission wants to offer feedback to the applicant's project engineer for whoever that may be, regarding the readability of the plans and whether or not they're too busy or they're too involved, it may be worth asking them directly. Of course, we as staff can also weigh in on that comment too. With the transition of us having Jeremy now on board with us, I'm sure if there's anything that he would want to weigh in on that, or myself that we would weigh on that, we would definitely offer that comment to you.
Yeah, I think some engineers do a better job at presenting plans than others.
And we have the same, with many projects now, the same engineer.
Yeah, I agree that they're difficult to follow, and I've seen
Yeah.
quite a few plans. So
Yeah.
I think we could make comments to have something a little more presentable and a little easier to read. I agree with you, Diane.
Understood. So noted.
Bob, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
My comments would be about the TOD. We had the motion that happened back in February, I believe it was, or March, to ask staff to redraw the map. I had asked staff, knowing that Beth was leaving us completely, knowing that Tai Chi was coming on. Did I say that right, Jerry?
It's, think of it like Nike, it's Taiki.
Taiki, okay, sorry. Knowing that Taiki was coming on, I was waiting for them to just handle it 100% of the way. So now that they're here, I've already met with Jeremy and had a couple conversations already about getting the ball moving on this. I'm hoping to have the public hearing scheduled for June.
Sometime in June.
That way we can hopefully have a vote and have action on it in July. Is my
Before we close for the summer.
before I want to put it to bed before we take our extended August break. So
That'd be nice.
want everyone to know that was probably the first thing you and I chatted about on our first phone call last week.
Sounds good, Paul.
So it's not been forgotten about.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's move on. So with that, I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Jeremy, no fair quitting on the same night.
8:15.
What was that?